Just days after the adoption of 20 medical students from the University of Maiduguri and the University of Jos, security operatives are still combing the forest to rescue them. The medical students were adopted last Thursday along the Otukpo-Enugu Federal Highway while they were traveling to Enugu State for the Federation of Catholic Medical and Dental Students Annual Convention. Now, according to reports, the Inspector General Police, Kayode Betokun, had at the weekend deployed a tactical team to ensure that the adopted students were rescued. Now, correspondents learned that the IG team arrived in BENUE State on Monday and was promptly deployed to Otukpo in search of the adopted students. Now, the spokesperson for the BENUE State Police Command, Catherine Enene, told correspondents on Tuesday that the Commissioner of Police Hassan Yabanet led the team to Otukpo. Now, the IG team arrived on Monday and was promptly led by the Commissioner of Police to Otukpo. So the team of the CP are in Otukpo now, the PPRO said. Meanwhile, the Secretary General of the Medical Students Association, Abba Lawrence, who spoke on the phone to newsmen on Tuesday, said the state government had assured the team that the adopted students will be rescued. Recall that on Saturday, actually one of the adopted students, Kingsley, he alerted the public to the adoption by making the post on his X handle. And in the tweet, he reveals that the group of students had been without food for 2 days and called on the government and families of the victims to intervene for their immediate release. From when the students were adopted to when the statements were made, to when the IG's team went to Otukpo, down to when the CP's team went to Otukpo. From your analysis now, looking at the days, the difference in the days, we heard that was it the CP's team that got to Otukpo on Monday, the IG's team got to Otukpo on Wednesday, and then these students were adopted last week, and then the tweet on Saturday. How do you see the response? Do you see it as prompt enough?
I can't really say it's be prompt enough because, one, this has become a recurrent decimal. You know, like we have the military chiefs, we have the Air Force, we have the Navy, we have the police, and we have the Army. Now, just as I always tell people, Nigeria has exceeded the time for which we ought to have gone global, you know, with our influences in terms of technology or otherwise. Now, looking at this now, when I say it's a recurrent decimal, if we had CCTVs, the Air Force should be on the air. Now, I was not bred up here in Nigeria. Now, elsewhere, we have CCTVs in all nooks and crannies. And with that, at least the Air Force, like during the protest, the Air Force was always on the air, monitoring events. So this effect, I don't know how a consensus of students will be on the road and they will go into the abyss without a trace over a period of time. Like they always say, if after 48 hours nothing is done, then it means the hand of the government is upon whatever is happening. And that is exactly what is happening today.
Who says that? It's as they always say.
I listen to news. Shegun Akimbole of Channels once said, if there's any arrest, in the event of all of these, if there's no response from the government, the police, IG, it means the government is involved in that.
That's just a mere statement by an individual, not backed up with facts.
Yes, allegedly.
Yes.
It is alleged, you know. So to this effect, these are people's children that have gone to school to learn. And I feel that at this juncture, the IG should expedite action to make sure these students are released and on time.
Yes, they are already doing that, because according to reports, like I stated, the IG's team are already at Otukpo right now. We had reports that the CP and their team, so a lot is going on to make sure that the students are, you know, released and rescued. But then that was trying to look at the response, as at the time the students were adopted, down to the time the IG's team got to Otukpo, got down to the time the CP's team and all of that. Looking at our security response, Do you understand? Our response in Nigeria, because that's something that we should get to look at. How responsive are we? How prompt are we to take actions in cases like this?
Over time, the police have not responded promptly to such events. And to this effect, I believe that there should be channels where the police mitigate all of this so that a stitch, they say, saves a stitch in time, they say saves 9, right? So to this effect, if something like this is happening and that clarion call comes, they ought to swift into action to make sure all of this comes to fore. Like now, between when they had this in Otupo and when the operations took place, the commissioner in that state ought to have expedited action to make sure at least they come on news and crannies to make sure these people are released.
Yes,
and on time.
They've been doing that according to reports. They've been combing the forest, especially all weekend. But then let's us also get to look at another aspect of it. We've talked about the prompt response, how we get to respond to cases like this and all that. But let's also get to look at our intelligence gathering. Let's look at the security in Nigeria. Let's look at some of the lapses that have been stated that we have right now. And the fact that there have been calls for foreign mercenaries to come in and assist, right? With the security cases that we're having. Recently, it has been a case of kidnap. Aside the killing and all of that, we've been hearing cases of kidnap. I don't know if you've been following news, you notice that it has been reoccurrent.
Sure.
So what do you think, what new approach do you think that we can come up with? What do you think we need to improve on? What do you think we need to pay more attention to regarding security in Nigeria?
I think we have to work on our intelligence gathering, which is sacrosanct in every thriving economy. They call this the Nigerian thing, you know, because...
What's the Nigerian thing now?
The Nigerian thing now is that we wait until it is red hot before we strike. Like our forensic team now. If it's not there, it's not there. So we are seeing an avenue wherefore at least our forensic team ought to be proactive so that they know that this is where we are hitting it and this is where we are getting it wrong. We must not bring foreigners to come and mitigate whatever is happening here in Nigeria.
I think we don't need that. We don't need that yet.
We don't need that yet, not at all. Because if the Nigeria security operatives want to work, they work.
Have they been working?
That is what I just said. If they want to work, they will work. Now put a bounty of 10 million that if this happens, they are going to bring the people to fore. You will see them swing into action and they will do the needful. But the reverse has been the case. That is why I said it is a Nigerian thing. Give you the wherewithal, the Nigerian security operatives will work.
Do they have everything that they need to work? Because sometimes when people talk about security response, right?
Yeah.
They talk about us, first of all, having the manpower, even though might not be enough according to reports. And then they also talk about the fact that these people are working. No matter how you want to look at it, they are working. But then, do they have everything that they need? Do we have the advanced technology? You talked about intelligence gathering. Do we have enough advanced technology for them to work, for them to carry that out? Do we have, people have always complained about these criminals having more sophisticated weapons than our security personnel have. That's another angle we need to look at. We also get to look at their welfare when they go out there. And then another thing I want to mention, I don't know if it's just me, I want to know if you also have the same thoughts now. When I saw this story about the fact that the IG's team are in Otupo now, the CP's team just landed, and all of those information, I feel like when certain things like this happen, insecurity cases happen, and then the police are going after these guys, there's some information that the public should not get. Information like, right now we are at Otupo Junction. We are headed to the forest to meet these people and rescue the students. That's like telling these people to be on guard because these guys are close by. Do you understand? So I'm looking at it in that regard, that there's some information, but do you actually think that this is, on the other hand, some people will feel like, oh, this information is needed because the people need to know that the police is working. The families of these individuals need to know that their children will soon be rescued. Well, I would like to get your thoughts on that.
Now, Annie, you see this. The sort of approach our military have is not of global standards. Sorry to say this. When the most wanted terrorist in the globe, Osama bin Laden, was killed, the then American president, Barack Obama, followed their level of intelligence tooth for tat until they made sure he was in a safe place before he was struck. Now, to that effect, there was no time they had any news regarding where he was. He's here, he's here. The only thing we woke up to get one morning is that Osama bin Laden was dead. But the Nigeria scenario is not same. If they want to go and strike, they will tell you their orbits, we are moving from point A to point B, which ought not to be. So when you say this over the media, everybody listens to news. Before you know, they are a step ahead of you. That is why they can't go to Sambisa Forest today and succeed. Because each time they send a truce and they make a headway, they come and they make pronouncements. And when these people hear that this is what they have done, for every one Boko Haram that is killed, they take 1,000 civilian and military.
Based on assumption, allegedly.
Yes.
Right, okay.
But no, this is not based on assumption.
Because your figures are quite outrageous. So you need to help the viewer understand that this is just.
I am quoting Shekau. This verbatim.
It doesn't make it factual anyway.
Yes, it doesn't. But that is it. So to this effect, I believe our security operatives should change the narrative. They should change the way, their modus operandi, the way they work out things, so that at least don't pre-inform the public about your next move. Let us hear that you struck, and not telling us how you are going to do it.
We're on our way to strike.
Yes.
But then the second school of thought that I mentioned, of some people who would want to know what's happening. Nigerians are very quick to swing into conclusion and say, oh, the military is not doing anything, or the security operatives are not doing enough, you understand? Okay. So don't you see this as a move by security operatives to try to inform Nigerians that we are actually on the matter?
Like I said earlier, we are talking about global best practices. When you inculcate in all of that, you don't pre-inform the public about your moves because you don't know whom is whom. Let's wake in the morning and hear this has happened. Like when Abacha makes his own pronouncement, we just wake one morning and hear that the military have taken over. They don't pre-inform people that this is what we are going to do. You just strike, and let us know this has happened, and everybody will be happy.
All right, we hope that the students will be rescued, and our hearts go out to their families who are probably not so okay at the moment, and we hope that they will be rescued. But let's look at the next story now.